The Avon Tyres Intermarque silhouettes had to wait until Sunday for their 2 races. The early morning qualifying session was held on a slightly damp, slippery track. Although 6 competitors were initially disqualified due to fire extinguisher issues, Daniel Smith in his Mercedes would take pole position with Malcolm Blackman alongside. Ray Harris would line up in 3rd position from Lewis Smith. Mike Thurley was the leading senior runner and 5th place overall, followed by Colin Smith and inspired Philip Young. Richard Smith, Mick Robertson and the returning Ruben Taylor would complete the top 10. After the fire extinguisher issues, 19 cars would take to the track for the first race of the day. The unfortunate non-starters would be Phil Blackford and John Price.
Lights go out and we're racing for the Intermarque silhouettes here at Snetterton. Good start from the second row for Lewis Smith in the white Mercedes, and the Ginetta of Ray Harris, the green car on the inside, looks for 3rd place on the inside of Lewis Smith in the white Vauxhall. Into turn 1 they go for the first time. Battle on between Mick Robertson and I think that's 14, that's Philip Spinks in the Vauxhall in his Tigra. Now out to the right hander and down towards the Wilson hairpin for the first time. Under brakes and Malcolm Blackman's all over the shop. He's sideways. They're 4 abreast on the exit between the first 2 rows. I think both Lewis Smith and Ray Harris have both squeezed past Daniel Smith and Malcolm Blackman as a result of that. Malcolm Blackman completely outbraked himself, slid fairly wide at the hairpin, all over the shop, and he's possibly dropped down to 4th, out of the left-hander at Palmer. They're all over each other, the top 4. Here they go, down towards the left-hander. Ray Harris under brakes in the Ginetta, up the inside of Daniel Smith. Here comes Lewis up the inside, into the back of Ray Harris, into the hairpin. Goodness me, 3 corners in there at it already.
The start would see the usual rush into the first corner, with Ray Harris emerging in front from Lewis Smith, Blackman and Daniel Smith. The blue Mercedes had been shuffled back, but would soon get back into 3rd position and 1 lap later into 2nd.
2 Mercedes then going wheel to wheel. And it looks like it's going to be Lewis ahead of Danny as he holds on. Danny goes back up the inside to make the move into Oggies. They go side by side with Malcolm Blackman in 4th place, getting a fantastic view of it all as they turn out of Oggies. Now towards the right hand at Williams. Oh, is that Lewis with a problem? Did he falter back? No, I think he faltered a little bit. And that gave a prime chance for Malcolm Blackman to say, excuse me, Lewis, up the inside. Yoink. And up to the 3rd place he goes.
Pace at the front was electrifying, and the 4 at the front would easily break away early on. However, a 5th contender was rising through the ranks. Steve Burrows, after not setting a time in qualifying, was matching the speed of the leaders and blistering his way through the pack. Another driver on the move was Ruben Taylor, making a welcome return to the championship and moving into 6th spot. Meanwhile, Lewis Smith was starting to fall back. Both Blackman and Burrows managed to get past in the middle part of the race. Harris and Daniel Smith were trading fastest lap times right at the front until lap number 7, where the blue Mercedes slowed and unfortunately would have to make a quick pit stop and would rejoin down in 5th.
We're looking at the battle for 2nd now as Blackman continues to pressure Daniel Smith as they turn in. Love the way those cars just move and glide through the corner. And Daniel Smith think, oh, Daniel Smith's got a problem. There's a bit of bodywork or something that's smoky on the left rear of that car. Just noticed it as it was coming out. There was a bit of dust that got cleared out there. Whether that was, I thought it was a bit of dust got kicked up, but there is something rubbing, I'm sure there is, on the left or right rear of that Mercedes, and he's pulling in. Daniel Smith, I think he's got some kind of a problem or a puncture. Daniel Smith, just before the final lap of the race, is in the pit lane with a problem. So that brings Michael Blackman in for up to 2nd place, and everyone else will sweep through. It will put Steve Burrows up into 3rd place, incredibly, and he started practically from the back of the grid. Steve Burrows from the back of the grid, 16th place he started, is up into what is now a podium place, incredibly.
This would leave Harris to fend off Blackman, which he did successfully to take another fantastic win. Behind them, Burrows should have been in 3rd position, but unfortunately he would run out of fuel. Then Lewis Smith was docked 10 seconds for exceeding track limits, so it would be his brother Daniel appearing in 3rd place after an eventful race.
Down the pit straight for the final time. Malcolm Blackman really closes in towards the end, but it's going to be a victory for the Ginetta of Ray Harris in the first CMMC Intermarque silhouette race. Picks up the victory, and he was closed down. He did 2 minutes 4.4 at the end. He was closed down by some, what was that, 2.5 seconds in the end by Malcolm Blackman. They only finished about 0.6 of a second between each other. So, because of Daniel Smith's demise, and then Steve Burrows retiring, and despite the 10-second penalty, Lewis Smith will come across the line in what I suspect is coast mode in 3rd place. Cross line he goes, and even he was backing off, well, that car wasn't sounding healthy either.
Dave York drove well to overtake Taylor in the final few laps to reclaim 4th. Taylor would secure 5th, and the penalised Lewis Smith would drop down to 6th. Thurley would once again win the seniors and come home in 7th, with Young continuing his good form in 8th, and Colin Smith would hold off Mick Robertson for 9th, as Phil Spinks and Nigel Beardsmore would complete the classified finishers. John Stewart would unfortunately be disqualified, and the retirements would be Ian Hales, Danny Smith, Eric Bolton, Richard Smith and Chris Ayling. Like the TinTop and Super Saloon race the day prior, the Intermarques would have to wait until the end of the day for their second race. And it should have been Mick Robertson who was starting on pole position, but unfortunately for him he'd have overheating issues and he'd have to withdraw. This would mean Colin Smith was promoted to pole position. It was also great to see John Price out there after being able to fix the car, but we were missing Thurley, Danny Smith, Ayling and Blackford, which was a real shame for this second race in the penultimate round of the season.
Lights out and we're racing here at Snetterton. Already 3 abreast in the mid-pack down towards turn 1. There's Ray Harris peeking out on the inside line. Ruben Taylor with a big dive for trying to get 3rd place on the inside. Ray Harris is already up from about roughly 7th or 8th down to 4th. Now there's contact. Round goes car 6. That was Nick Phillips, Spinks and Ian Hales making contact. Spinks is the one that tagged Hales. Round went the number 6 and the round he went. Now, for the lead, Lewis Smith is through. Colin Smith is in 2nd place and Ray Harris is already up to 3rd. There goes the 16 car Steve Burrows already getting past Philip Spinks, who got caught up in that contact with Hales at Ritchie's corner. But they all seem to have relatively survived roughly unscathed. But now it is a Smith 1-2 at the front. So it's the Mercedes of Lewis Smith in the lead. It's then Colin Smith in the Tigra in 2nd place. Ray Harris in the Ginetta is 3rd. Make that 2nd now. And Colin Smith from the pole position has completely spun it away on probably cold tyres. Away he goes from Agassini and gets swiftly passed by just about everyone. He gets assaulted by a cacophony of Mercedes SLKs, but gets back underway roughly around the top 10.
The start saw action as always, the mad run into Riches with both Harris and Lewis Smith gaining positions quickly. A small coming together between Spinks and Hales would see the number 6 Tigra gyrate, but fortunately nobody else was involved. Lewis Smith would hit the front as the cars came into Agostini, which saw Colin Smith spin out of 2nd position. This meant the typical 4 at the front would come through in a slightly different position than normal. Lewis Smith, Harris, Blackman and Daniel Smith leading the way early on. Taylor was next up and initially pursued by Burrows, but Steve would spin his number 16 Tigra early on and drop right to the back of the field.
This long, almost never-ending right-hander. Just hugged the inside line to get the car stopped. Ray Harris maybe sort of slowing up a bit sooner than Daniel Smith was expecting, and it also caught Malcolm Blackman up in there as well. And I think Daniel Smith either just didn't get the momentum or missed a shift somewhere, but he's now going to drop back behind Malcolm Blackman by the looks of it. Blackman got a better exit off the corner. He's up to 3rd now. Lewis Smith takes the fastest lap of the race and the first proper flying lap at the end of lap 2. So 2 minutes 2.278 for Lewis Smith.
There was plenty going on as Hales departed the scene in a cloud of smoke on lap number 4, just as Richard Smith had a time-consuming spin exiting Murray's. On the next lap, York had an off near the bomb hole and Blackman suddenly slowed out of quorum, leading him to retire from the second race at Snetterton.
Does that car look as though it's not at racing pace? No, it's not, is it? Because here comes Daniel Smith. So I think there's a problem developing for Malcolm Blackman there, as you can see working away at the wheel there of the Mercedes SLK, but I think there's a problem developing here for Malcolm Blackman because through's gone for 3rd place man Daniel Smith, so it's a Mercedes Silhouette 1-3. Lewis Smith sets a new fast lap of the race again, 2 minute 1.351, and I imagine is the Vauxhall T going to make it into the pit lane. And let's see on the tyres. Yes, it is. So Malcolm Blackman then, what could have been as high as 2nd place, is out, and so I think it's Daniel Smith. Daniel Smith's car, I can hear it outside, it's revving, either it's drive shaft or clutch or gear selection problems, but the car is revving and not giving any power. So problems for Daniel Smith as well, so 2 of the drivers that could have been in contention for 3rd place have just dropped out, so now it means that Ruben Taylor now goes to 3rd place. And potentially, I think also on top of that, we could see still Steve Burrows pick up a place as high as 4th.
Through all of the excitement, Lewis Smith was still in control out front, but Harris was only 2 seconds behind. Then on lap number 7, some cruel luck saw disaster for both of the Smith brothers. Firstly, Daniel would have to pull off, losing drive in his rear wheels, whilst Lewis also would retire on this lap as well.
Don't tell me we've lost Lewis Smith as well. Yes, we have. So Ray Harris goes through. Where's Lewis Smith? So car 24, Lewis Smith has dropped out. So 3 of our leading contending cars have all dropped out with mechanical issues. The only car that's left standing again is Ray Harris. So extraordinary situation in both races, where towards the end, most of the front-running contender don't seem to want to finish the race. Not by choice, of course, but problems for all the cars around. But the only car that's held firm so far in both races up to this point has been Ray Harris's Ginetta.
All of this left Harris with a 30-second lead out in front ahead of Taylor. Burrows had done a fantastic job to claw his way through the field and promote himself into 3rd position. Colin Smith was leading the seniors category until another spinner, Agostini, saw him drop behind Spinks, who's the eventual winner in class, and Young. Completing the finishers was the recovering Richard Smith, Beardsmore, Price and Stewart. It was an unfortunate end to the day at Snetterton, with not many cars making it to the finish, 10 in total. Saying this, some great stories out of this race. Ray Harris capping off a nearly perfect weekend, Ruben Taylor getting a fantastic podium overall, a great battle through the field from Steve Burrows, and nice to see Phil Spinks on the top of the seniors podium once more. Strangely, both the cars that had their fastest lap in class would not win it, Lewis Smith of course retiring early on, and Richard Smith's spins causing him not to finish first, only second in class behind Spinks in the seniors category. A quite crazy race at Snetterton for the Intermarque silhouettes, but it was great to see them out in action as always. They always provide some truly fantastic racing, and Snetterton once again delivered on that promise. For both the TinTops and the Super Saloons and the Intermarque silhouettes, we'll see the final round of the season at Brands Hatch in the middle of November. So be sure to get your entries in, and if you're a spectator, come along and see the end of these fantastic series after a really exciting 2021 season.